Okay, so let's go ahead the manufacturing process. So in Astra, we have the functionality that enables you to run your manufacturing from start to finish. Okay, from planning to doing the actual manufacturing. Okay, so in every manufacturing process, you require two things: the finished goods, okay, what you need to produce, and the bill of materials is what goes into the production of that finished good. So, and the bill of material, you need the raw materials and the overhead costs. The raw materials consist of the items for production, more like the ingredients or the packaging and the packaging materials as well. Your overhead costs consist of your machinery costs, your electricity costs, your water costs, your labor costs, and your other costs. Okay. So, in every production, these are what you need for the production to be complete. Okay. So it's like having being a chef or a cook and you have your recipe. So this becomes a recipe for the production of your food. Okay, so let's take note of that. So with that being said, first of all, you have to define the products you produce. The products you define to produce must be marked as goods. They should be tracked and produced. You mark them as tracked because you want to be able to track the quantity after production. Okay, so once you produce, you want the quantity to increase, right? So you mark them as tracked. That means your inventory and your stock will increase. The raw material should be defined as goods that are tracked and goods that you buy. Okay, most raw materials are bought from the market or from the suppliers. However, there are some raw materials you also buy some, use some other raw materials to produce. Okay, but I still mark them as buy. Okay, then you mark them as tracked in order to auto reduce the stock of the raw materials per the quantity used for production, meaning that after you've run your production process, you want the Astra to be able to AstraERP to be able to reduce automatically the quantity used for the production. That's why you also mark that one as track. So when you come to the AstraERP platform, you go to products and services. Okay, so you have to create a new product. If you don't have the existing, you create a new product. It must be a good. So we are creating a finished good. The goods are reproduced. It must be a finished good. The name of it. If there's a category, you put it there. The inventory, you have to mark it as tracked. Then you have to mark the product as produced because you produce it from your own manufacturing place or location. Okay, then you mark that as produced. For material that you raw material, if it is a raw material, if it is a raw material, you mark it as a good that you produce, but then you buy it. Okay, even if it's a product you produce, you still mark it as buy because you need it. Okay, so that is how you define. That is how you define the products to produce and the raw materials. Okay, so once you have that, remember you need this. So once you have that, you have to go and then set the bill of material. That is, create the recipe, specify the quantity you need for production. So to do that, come to the manufacturing bill of materials page. Okay, then let's take one product that we want to use for our example. Is AstraERP 30. So you click on this. Now, what this question, the question here says, what quantity do the added bill of materials go to produce? Now, what it means is that the overhead costs and the production costs, you will specify here. What quantity does it go to produce? What quantity of the AstraERP does it go to produce? Which is 30. Okay, so because of that, you have to specify the overhead costs involved in producing 30 of AstraERP. 30 of AstraERP. You have to specify the raw materials that goes in production of 30 of AstraERP. So in this, I specify that I use 120 crates. So let's just say I use 120 crates in producing 30 of AstraERP. I use I used 120 raw eggs to produce 30 of Aceda eggs. I use egg crate 30 to produce 30 of Aceda eggs, and I use 30 labels to produce 30 of Aceda eggs. Okay. Now, always mark round figure. What this means is you want, the Astra ERP, whenever this serves as a blueprint. Okay. So this tends to serve as a blueprint. The bill of materials serve as a blueprint for every production process. Okay, so it becomes like the basic production process or the plan that is laid out, that any production will take this plan and build on it, and use that plan, build on it to do any production they want to build. Okay, so what it means is that it's not always you produce 30. Maybe sometimes you want to produce 120, 180, you want to produce 60, 40. So you first take this plan, okay? Then the Astra ERP platform would do the calculations for you to get how many it will take to produce whatever quantity you want to produce based on this blueprint, okay? So in doing that calculation, there are certain raw materials or packages that you want to remain as whole numbers because they cannot physically, even physically, they cannot be divided. For instance, if you use a label, you cannot divide a label into two to paste it on the packaging. It has to always be a full label, a whole label. Okay. If you are using like a box or you are using a packaging, any package like a box, a bottle, you can't have your production going to use half a bottle, so it's going to divide a bottle into two, So with those packaging, especially the packaging materials, so any raw material, packaging material, that you always has to be a whole figure, a whole number. No matter the quantity you are producing, you have to define, check this always round figure so that the calculation will always give you a whole number or an integer, so that you don't have 1.2 bottles, but it rather be one bottle, two bottles, three bottles. Okay, so that is what this means. Okay, so once you have specified your bill of materials, you save the changes. Okay, then close it. Then let's go on to the manufacturing analysis page. So at the manufacturing analysis page, you only come here if you want to do an analysis. You want to run some sort of estimations and see what it takes or what goes into the production of if you decide to do a particular production, what will be your end result at the end of that day. Okay, so let's just run a manufacturing analysis for X. So we want to produce, say, 60 of Aceda X360. Okay, so once we specify the item we want to produce, now with this section here and these sections here, okay, when I do not specify any overhead cost here, no, the materials I need to produce that, if I don't specify it, when I run the analysis, it's going to use the default, it's going to base on the default bill of materials that I set for that product. That is the blueprint I was talking about. It's going to use that, and the quantity for the blueprint and the quantity you want to produce, it does the calculation and gives you the overhead cost involved and gives you the bill of materials involved. So once I run the analysis, you realize it has used, giving you based on the blueprint. Now the blueprint says that I need 120 overhead costs in producing of 30 Asda XS30. The overhead cost involved is 120, the total overhead cost. So in the production of 60 Asda X, what the AstraERP, the question it asks, then it calculates it and lets you know that at the end of the day, if it takes 120 to produce 60, then it will take 240. If it takes 120 to produce 30, then it will take 240 to produce 60. So that's the overhead cost. When it comes to the raw materials aspect also, So when you run I went back this, and I wanted to show you something else. So I went back and rerun the analysis. So when I run the analysis, we're going to have this page here, this side, which is a bill of materials aspect. Okay, now she's showing me the bill of materials that go into this production. So you realize this is also based off the blueprint we have specified here. Okay, so again, if it takes 30 egg crate pack to produce 30 AstraERPs, how much will egg crate pack will it take to produce 60? So the AstraERP does the calculation for you and gives you 60, right? So similarly for raw eggs and then labels. So this quantity here is the quantity needed for this production. The in stock is the quantity you have in your inventory as at today, or as of the day you are running this analysis. So you can cross-check that with this here over here. Raw eggs, the quantity in stock is 1368. It has specified that. Okay. So the unit cost here is the cost of the current cost of that the raw material which you have specified. So the unit cost that has been specified for that product. Okay, so as that works, the unit cost is 51. So now the unit cost is configured, is one that you can configure, is what you configured for that product here. So you can come and change the unit cost here so that it affects the unit cost here. Okay, so the total cost is just the multiplication of the unit cost with the quantity you need for production, give you the total cost. Okay, now the red background suggests that you have less of the quantity in stock compared to what you need. You need one for two, you have 136.8 in stock. So with that, you can choose, and it tells you the quantity order here. So you can choose to select a vendor, and then place an order for that particular product. So you can do it for multiple. Okay, in case you are buying from different vendors. Okay, another way you can go do this is just cross check this, just check the ones you want to order for. If you are buying from one vendor, it's good to do this. Then you just select one vendor, then you place an order. Or and remember, you can also edit the quantity you want to place the order for. Instead of I want to place more, you can also edit that. Now what this means is that at the end of the day, when you choose to generate to run a production, once you create the new page, you realize that under item to purchase, it has the purchase order here. It tells you that there's a purchase order will be generated for the items added to be purchased. Yes, so this is your analysis. Now you realize over here you can override the configured costing info. Now with this, that means you can specify, you can change the costing the cost information here. Then again, run the analysis just to see what goes into the summary to give you. So let's first stick to the first one, the default. Okay, so you look at the bill of materials. Now let's come to the items produced summary. Now this section tells you for each item the quantity specified to produce, the selling price. Now the selling price of this item again also hails from the selling price specified under products and services. So if you should take AstraERP, this is a selling price you specified for it, which is 78.50. You can also come and change it here, and then you can, by doing so, you can come and rerun your analysis and to give you a different price. So the gross sales is, if you sell all the 60 AstraERP X you are producing at this price, this is what you are going to get. The material cost is the sum of all the total of the cost involved, the sum of the total of the the total cost of the bill of materials involved. Okay, the overhead cost again is the overhead cost specified here. Then so the total cost is material cost plus overhead cost. Then the sales profit is the when you sell it to the gross sales and you subtract your total cost of production into it. This is your sales. So meaning that you are running at a loss. Then you realize that now it can give you your profit margin, your expected profit based on the production, the overhead cost, the raw material, the production, the gross sales used. Okay, so you can tell that from this production, if you produce 60 using this overhead cost, these raw materials are this cost, and this selling price for this product, we are going to get run at get a negative 63%, for which is a loss. Okay, so like I said, this is an analysis page, so we can go ahead. If you want to, you are doing an analysis, so you want to, play around with some variables just to see what you get at the end. So you can probably change your labor cost to 30. Let's see, if I change my labor cost to 30, and maybe the cost of the raw eggs might be too high, it's 51 cedis. So let me just get in here, change the cost of raw eggs. Okay, so the cost of raw eggs maybe is no longer 21 cedis for some good reason. It has been reduced to say 20 cedis. Okay, 20 cedis, save it. Then I realize that I don't even need 240. So I'll have to override this. I don't even need 240. I need say 120. Okay, for this. Then I run my analysis. Okay, so shit, sorry. So sorry, let me just do it again. Sorry. No. So so you did reduce our overhead costs. We change the quantity we needed. We want to override the material cost. You need to sorry. We want to use 120. Okay. Then we rerun our analysis. Realize that now we have a profit. Easy. So this gives you the option to play around with certain variables just to see the outcome of that production. Okay. So again, this one has a red background, meaning that we don't have in stock. In stock is 55. We need 60. So let's just order for say it's 5 more, but let's order for 10 more. Okay, and then we want to order it from our label guys. So we place the order. So once we click to generate production order, we have the summary of the order we are going to produce. Okay, this is a summary of the order and what is going to be at the end of the day, what we are going to get. Then we have the items to purchase. The items we added to purchase. Okay, to generate a purchase order. Then a bill of materials that is going to be involved in that production. Okay, then we can generate a purchase order. So we have successfully generated production, manufacturing, and our purchase order also generated for items purchased if any specified. So based on this, just to verify, we can just check first of all if we have a manufacturing order generated. Hooray, this is our manufacturing order. Just to be sure this is it. The bill of material is specified also here. You can see the same thing. Yes. So that means this is it generated it. Then we can just make sure we have our production order available. So let's see our production order. Okay, so you see there's a production order here. The one we ordered for 10. Okay, so that is it. So that is how you can use the analysis page to just do an analysis and see what has been. After doing analysis, you don't have to generate production. You can choose to, based on analysis, generate a production order or just leave it be just analysis. Then you go to so at the manufacturing order side, let's go to that's where we do the actual production. Okay, so let's just take this out of the equation. This one we generated from the we generated it from the manufacturing analysis. So let's just say we've come to the manufacturing order side. We want to do a new order, okay, from this piece. So that means you can do generate a manufacturing order from analysis, or you can come to manufacturing order and just do a new order. So at the manufacturing order side, you just click to generate a new order. Specify a date for the order date. That's the record. It's not the manufacturing date, but it's the record input date. Then we again want to use the AstraERP for experiment. Then we want to use for the test. Then we want to that I want to produce test. So once you click save and continue, what the AstraERP does is it first checks if you have a blueprint specified in the bill of materials for the production of this AstraERP. So if a blueprint exists, it based off this blueprint, and then it picks based off this blueprint, and then it picks the using the quantity you want to produce and the quantity that you have specified in your blueprint. It does some calculations for you, and then to give you the bill of materials. To give you the bill, to give you the bill of materials. Okay, so again, once I click save and continue, AstraERP looks at your blueprint, and based off of your blueprint, it calculates the bill of material that will go into this production. So with that said, let's save and continue. So when we saved, you can see that we have 240 overhead cost. Why? Because in our blueprint, we specify we use 120 produce 30. So in a production of 60 of Aseda X30, it is going to use twice that. That is 240. Similar for what it is did for the calculations for the raw X, and then the egg, and then so these are raw materials. Now you can see that the quantity needed here is what 240. Now red background shows you that the stock we have is lesser than the quantity we need. So you realize for this we have 136.80 in stock, but the quantity we need is 240, which is more. However, for egg crate, but we have a lot in stock, so the background is white. Yeah, so this gives you an idea to inform the inventory or the store guys to purchase more of the raw eggs or the label in stock, so that you can go ahead with your production. However, you can just save this record because this is just the planning stage, so you can just save. Again, this raw material record is based off of your blueprint. So if per this production, maybe for this production alone, there's a change in overhead cost. You probably in this production your overhead cost became 100, not the 240. Perhaps your overhead costing for perhaps the X at this point, you don't need 240. You realize you need only let's say 150. Okay, you needed only 150, and then let's say you needed 180. Okay, and then you need 60 of this, 60 of that. Okay, to the or you can, if there was a new item you needed for this production, you can add the raw material to the okay. So you can also edit the raw material at the point of production, at the planning stage of your production. Okay, so once you are satisfied with it, you just save it. Okay, you save it. Now you await. You've done this record. Inventory is ready to go ahead and then continue with the production. So once production is done, or whilst production is ongoing, you want to effect this production or post to inventory. So you use the post to inventory feature. Now you select the manufacturing. The manufacturing date is the date you are doing the production is okay, the date of the production. So we would have put in the order for 10. We planned on 10 that there will be a production, but the actual production took place on 16th. So that's the manufacturing date. Now, if you are producing maybe some production where they are perishable goods, so we want to specify the expiry date. We can specify it. So we are specifying that the expiry date is 30th November of the same year. It doesn't take me. So if you look over here, we have AstraERP X30. The BM quantity is in your blueprint what you specify to be the quantity your blueprint goes to produce. So that's what we call the BM quantity. The quantity produced what you specify to produce. The ratio here is the quantity to produce divided by the BM quantity. That's the ratio. The material cost again is the cost of the materials that goes, the total cost that goes into production. Then the overhead cost, the total cost, the overhead cost that goes into it. Then the total cost, the material cost plus the overhead cost given them. The unit cost here is the cost of one of this item after production. So that can be found out by doing a division of the total cost and divided by this, the quantity produced. That will give you the unit cost. So once you are satisfied, you have to just effect it. So when you click effect, now you see that there's an error here. It's telling you that there's not enough quantity in stock for production. The label, pack 30 egg label, okay, quantity in stock is 55, but the quantity you need is 60. So you can just verify and realize that it's red here because we have in stock, but we need 60. For the rest, we have 136.80, so but I have, but we need 180, but I have 136.80 in stock. Okay, so what we can do is immediately inventory puts out an order, purchase order, and then goes to receive the order. Or they can just quickly buy it off the market, on the market, or get some and just do a receive stock for it. So you put out the receive stock from Ave Maria. They need raw eggs. How many have we shot? We need one. You have 1 to 6. So let's just order this. Say we need 100 raw eggs. Give us 100 raw eggs because so we get 100 raw eggs. Then we want to add the labels too. So we have the labels. How many more do we need? We need 60. So we have 55. We need 5 more. So let's just order for 10. So we ordered for 10. Okay, we save it, then we post it. So with this done, meaning we'll have some stock there. So let's go ahead again. Let's view our bill of materials. Realize everything checks out, right? So now we can post to inventory. So we post it. Now before we post, let's just do this. Let's check our inventory lists because we expect the reduction of the raw materials and the increment of the finished good after production. So let's look at raw eggs. We have 236.80 in stock. So let's just do a small sheet. Let's just do a small sheet. Let's do so we have raw eggs. We have in stock now. We have in stock. We have this in stock. Then what else were we using for production? So for production, we are using. Let's use the bill of material. We have egg crate. Okay, so we have egg crate. Which egg crate is that? 30 pack. So we have pack 30. Pack 30 egg crate. Okay, we have 3350 in stock. So we have egg crate. We have this quantity in stock. Then we have the label 30. So let's look at the quantity stock. The label 30. This is it. So we have 65 in stock. Okay. Okay. So once and then for the AstraERP X30. How many do we have in stock? So AstraERP X30, we have 300 in stock. Okay, we have this in stock, so let's go ahead and effect it. So when we effect the manufacturing order, input successfully, okay, it's completed. And we come to now let's just refresh and see. Now with our raw X, that's we have 56.80. Formerly we had raw X, so it has reduced by the quantity we used. We have the air crate 30 pack now, it has reduced 329. Look at the quantity we had here. Get it? The label to it has started with 5, but we had installed, we had 65 installed. I didn't tell you. Yes. Then the Asada X, we now have 360. Formerly it was 300. Okay, so this completes our manufacturing order process, and that's so you realize there's no background here, but let's just look at the color coding. When the background of an order is blue, that means it's a pending order. If the background was white, that means the profit margin is less than 0%. And if it was yellow, that means the profit margin is greater than 100%. If our profit margin for this was less than, so our profit margin was between 0 and 100, that's why the background is white. But if it was less than 0%, it would have been red. If it was more than 100%, have been green, yellow. So that completes our manufacturing order process. Then, so the other thing I want to say is you don't always have to have the BUM setup. Okay, you can just go on do your manufacturing without a BUM setup, without a bill of materials. You don't need a blueprint to just like when you come to do it, you can just walk into the kitchen and start mixing things up and you prepare because you know it off head. Okay, but the if you but with a bill of materials, it helps you. It's like a standard. It's like a blueprint for your company or for your production, so that you can base also of that to the production. And that one, when you specify that the AstraERP helps in calculating it per every production order you want to do, so that you don't have to do the self calculation yourself. But however, even after every production, at every new production, you can still go ahead and then edit at the point of production. You can still go ahead and then add, remove, or edit materials you need, including overhead cost, add new ones, edit them, and all that. Okay, so that is it for manufacturing order. Thank you.